Welcome to Guitar Town. So I lied. I said on one of the other programs, or maybe both of them, that I didn't own a size 3 guitar and that I'd never seen one, but that's not true. I just forgot, I purchased one that I believed to be a size 3 guitar pretty recently, about, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And I moved it with a bunch of other guitars here to the house when the COVID thing broke out. I moved it to the house in Tennessee, and when I got, you know, I went to New York last week for a few days and talked to some of the folks that were around when I acquired it, and realized I was wrong. Came back, dug the guitar out, and that's our next victim here. This guitar is the oldest guitar that I own. Now, size 3 means it's one size smaller than the size 2 guitar that I saw, and that's essentially as it goes from size 1 to size 2 to size 3. Each increment is an inch, basically. And it's an inch, we'll get into some detail here. It's an inch across this lower bout. This is the upper bout. This is the lower bout. This is the widest part of the guitar, and that's where you measure it to determine the size of the guitar according to Martin's specs. This guitar was made in either 1840 or 1841. It has some very peculiar features that we can kind of nail this one down. It's harder with some guitars, but this one has a few features that only exist in those 2 years. It's a style 17 guitar, which was pretty much the plainest guitar they made. The plainest Martin grade is actually style 15, but I don't know whether style 15 existed when this guitar was built. Somebody might be able to answer that question for us. It has, and one of the things that nails it down, this bridge, which is original, never been off the guitar. They call this a ski slope bridge. It has this saddle. Of course, these are gut strings now, or nylon strings. Well, this one's gut because this has been on the guitar since I got it. And there have been times when you could get gut strings, but this one's nylon. I know because that's what I could get. And this had a broken string, and I put that one on myself this afternoon so I could do this show. It's the top spruce. It was all, red spruce, Adirondack spruce at this point, and all of the rosewood was Brazilian. Now, I got to get better light for this so it doesn't do the wood justice. This was like the lowest grade rosewood that Martin used on style 17, but you couldn't get anywhere near it. By the time it got to the 60s or 70s, you very rarely saw anything with grain this straight. The swirly stuff with all the white in it is low grade rosewood from the outside of the logs that Martin wouldn't have even used. We see that stuff with the really light stuff. That's water damage that causes that discoloration, and it's not. But of course Brazilian rosewood, it hasn't been used. Martin hasn't used it since 1969, and it's. Let's see, tuners. Let's look at those. These are not the original tuners, but they're close to what would have been on it when I bought it. It had some very plain steel tuners on it. They were all in a strip like this. The buttons would have been bone on a lower grade guitar like this. These tuners are close to what would have been on it, but they're not the originals. It had these tuners from the 20s or 30s on it when I bought it. And I tried to find the originals. I bought this guitar from Matt Umanoff. He thought he might have them. These probably aren't it, just from forensics looking at, these tuners against the wood itself underneath where the tuners are. It just doesn't quite match up and look like they ever lived together. And let's see, what else do we want to show you? The black lacquer on the back of the neck, that's pretty usual. That's not a refinish or anything. There's also this very peculiar, and sort of helps nail this one down, this sort of ice cream cone shaped neck heel. I don't think this is a dovetail joint at this point. It might be. That was one of the innovations of Martin guitars. Like guitars were built in Europe by furniture makers. It was considered to be not real instrument making at one point, so furniture makers started building them, and C.F. Martin was trained apprentice as a furniture maker, and some people believe he was the first person to apply that technology, a dovetail joint, which is something you use in furniture for strength. attaching the neck to the body of a guitar. I wanted to come up with a song that might be as old as the guitar. Now think about this: guitar was made in 1840 or 1841. We're pretty sure. So that means this guitar was built either 4 or 5 years after the Battle of the Alamo. It's the Trapper period is ending the Mountain Man period in the Rocky Mountains because beaver pelts, the prices have just plummeted because silk hats have come into style. It's the Spanish-American War is getting ready to break out. It's not. I take that back. No, I'm sorry. I made the same mistake Bob Dylan did. The Mexican War is about to break out. It's like, and I know better. I'm from Texas. I wanted to come up with a song that maybe was the same age as the guitar. This is a song that I learned it from Townes Van Zandt. Lyle Lovett recorded it. He learned it from Townes Van Zandt. Townes learned it from, I'm pretty sure, from John Lomax Jr., who was the son of John M. Lomax, the famous folk song collector, the nephew of Alan Lomax. And he settled in Houston and ended up, which is where John Lomax III grew up, and who was my first manager and Townes' manager at one point. Mr. Lomax founded the Houston Folklore Society. He was famous for singing songs a cappella, made some pretty cool folk song records, and I heard him sing this song one time, and this is like, I'm pretty sure that most of the folk singers, Guy, everybody else that did this song learned it from Mr. Lomax. Everybody else around Houston anyway. So this is called the Brazos River. It's the actual title, and we usually just call it the Texas River song. So. Crossed the Wild Pecos, forded the Nueces, swum the Guadalupe, followed the Brazos. Red River runs rusty, the Wichita clear. Down by the Brazos I courted my dear. La la lee, lend me your hand. La la lee, lend me your hand. La la lee, lend me your hand. Many are the rivers that water this land. Well, the fair Angelina runs glossy and gliding. The crooked Colorado runs weaving and winding. The slow San Antonio courses the plain. But I'll never walk by the Brazos again. La la lee, pull the boat on. La la lee, pull the boat on. La la lee, pull the boat on. My Brazos River sweetheart has left me and gone. She kissed me and hugged me, called me a dandy. The Trinity is muddy and the Brazos quicksandy. Kissed me and hugged me, called me her own. And down by the Brazos she left me alone. La la lee, lend me your hand. La la lee, lend me your hand. La la lee, lend me your hand. Trinity is muddy and the Brazos quicksand. Well, the girls of Little River, they're plump and they're pretty. Sabina and the Sulphur have beauties of plenty. The banks of the Natchez, there's girls by the score. But I'll never walk by the Brazos no more. La la lee, lend me your hand. La la lee, lend me your hand. La la lee, lend me your hand. Trinity is muddy and the Brazos quicksand. 1840, maybe 41, Martin 317.